Greetings to all of you. I am sharing with you an interview that I did a few months ago with Mayumi Beckers, who's a part of Shaman's Directory, which is a great online resource for you to connect to a shamanic teacher, practitioner, healer. I truly believe that in this time of transition that we're in, the ancient indigenous traditions and that ancient wisdom of shamanism, that understanding of our interconnectedness with all of life and the sacredness of all of life can be a powerful support to us in remembering the capacity of our consciousness to be in communication with and connection with the plants, the animals, the trees, the earth, the sky, the stars, and planets. That we have that capacity to commune and communicate with the life around us, to guide us back into right relationship with ourselves, with each other, with all of life. So I'm sharing this interview that we did from a summit whose theme was honoring the source of our awakening. And it's my conversation about some of my spiritual journey, some of my shamanic experiences, and how I believe we can be supported by the energies of the earth and sky in this profound transition as we're moving out of the Kali Yuga and into the Aquarian age. I also talk about my practice of working with the medicine wheel, and I hope to put out within the next few days a video with a medicine wheel meditation to support you in staying centered in these intense times and perhaps finding a practice that helps you deepen your connection with the consciousness of the cosmos and the earth and sky. So here is the interview that we did together. She was in Peru and I was here in the States, and I hope you enjoy our conversation. Blessings to all of you.
This gathering is brought to you by Shaman's Directory, an online global platform dedicated to bringing shamanic earth-based services to the world's doorstep. At Shaman's Directory, we are committed to honoring the earth's living lineages, the medicine people and communities who invite our human family to heal and to awaken to a better, a more kind, and a more sustainable way forward. I am Mayumi Beckers, one of your hosts at the Cosmic Fire, and I'm truly delighted to welcome Heather Answorth. Hello, Heather. Welcome. It's such an honor to have you here.
Thank you. It's great to be a part of this with you.
Thank you. The topic for our conversation today is remembering our interconnectedness with the earth and sky and all of life. So again, welcome, Heather. It's such a delight to have you here, and I have been following your work, and I believe that you're such an inspiration for many people as you translate how the alignment of the stars and planets are connected with the earth, and you do this so in a beautiful and clear, comprehensive and heartfelt way. So I really want to thank you for bringing that to the world as well. And as we start, I want to ask you if you can tell us something about your path and the source of your own awakening.
Again, thank you for letting me be a part of this. I think it's a beautiful summit that you're doing. And yes, in terms of my spiritual path, I don't know that I would say there was a moment of awakening. I actually feel like my earliest memories were very much about being here to be on a spiritual path, to be really in alignment with my purpose in this lifetime. But I grew up in a fairly conservative Christian home environment. But in the midst of that, I think a constant in my life was my deep connection with nature and this intrinsic awareness of the consciousness of all of the life around us. So some of my closest friends in childhood were a grove of willow trees that I was in communion with and communication with on a regular basis. And then as I grew older and continued to follow my path, I broke out of that religious context that I had grown up in and really more actively pursued my own spiritual exploration, which was very much about earth-based spirituality and ancient wisdom and shamanic practices. And some of that really got accelerated after I had a very powerful mystical experience when I had followed a path of studying clinical psychology and becoming a therapist and working with a lot of people really committed to doing healing work, particularly with people with trauma. And after a number of years, I was really feeling like I was moving into professional burnout, but also I had this very profound mystical experience where this voice said to me very clearly within me, you need to leave your life as you've known it, or you will die. And I knew with every fiber of my being that was true. And it led to this huge deconstruction of my life as I'd known it, leaving my profession, selling my house, moving across the country to I didn't know what. But I was following the path of spirit. And then I just followed the synchronicities and the guidance that I had as to what to explore and what were the next steps. And one of the first experiences that I had in that transition time was studying with a Mohawk medicine woman and really beginning to explore and be trained in shamanism. And that led to a deeper and deeper journey of studying with Peruvian shamans, healers from different parts of the world, really coming to explore more fully ancient wisdom traditions and healing traditions, as well as different indigenous traditions. So it's been an ongoing process, but very much it's felt like that earth-based spirituality is really what's most truly in alignment with my soul self.
Thank you for sharing this and for sharing this whole path in a nutshell. Of course, I'm sure that a lot of things have happened. And I'm just wondering, like, throughout that journey, and you had probably different moments of awakening. And of course, it was one that was very critical in your, path as well, and that you sort of changed your directions all at once. Was there something also along that path, another sort of story or an experience or a challenge that you may had to overcome that may inspire our audience to also walk their path and to stay true to their path?
Part of what deepened for me was that, and I think this is so important for all of us individually, but collectively, to reconnect with the consciousness of the earth and sky. So part of what was really profound for me was different animal allies and plant allies that really supported me along the way, as well as my spirit guides. But one experience of that, in terms of an animal ally, was during that time in California when I was in that time of really ending my life as I'd known it and starting on this new path. There were moments that was very terrifying because I was really leaving all the security that I had known, the identity I had built, the practice I had established, people that I cared about, both personally and professionally. And there would be moments I would just be overwhelmed with anxiety. And I would step out of my house into this little garden behind the house. And consistently in those moments when I was most overwhelmed, this one beautiful female hummingbird would come and hover right in front of me. And I felt as so much that she was guiding me to trust and to know that I was being supported and held. And the day that I finally moved, she came one more time and hovered right in front of my face and then flew east, which was the direction that I was headed in. And I didn't know till much later when I was studying with the Peruvian shamans that the hummingbird is very much about uh, taking in the sweetness of life and following your path of destiny. So it just gave even more meaning to that profound experience with the hummingbird. And then later, after my move, I went through a really very difficult time in my life and was really in a dark place. And uh, I had these repeated experiences with owls, a barred owl. I would be walking in the woods in the middle of the day, and an owl would be right there in the tree. And we would just stare at each other and commune with each other. And I knew the owl was guiding me to trust the wisdom in the time of darkness and to know again that I was held and supported. And I kept getting these owl encounters for the next few weeks through that really dark time in my life, including one time I went for a walk and came back, and there was an owl in the middle of my backyard, just sitting there waiting. So I think those experiences just really deepened my respect for the consciousness of the animals and birds that are guiding us and supporting us, and the plants. I have a whole other story of a plant ally if you're interested, but I just feel like the plants are trying to heal us and the animals are trying to guide us in our own healing process to come back into connection and come back into higher consciousness.
Beautiful. Now I'm really curious about your plant story as well.
Well, one experience that I had that was truly life-changing for me was I was doing herbal training, and one of uh, the assignments was to go out and meditate and connect with a plant and see what its medicine was for us. So I was drawn to red bee balm, and I went and I sat with the plant, and it just started communicating to me very clearly. And it was during a time in my life where I was caught in a lot of struggle with stepping out in a more visible way and experiencing a lot of anxiety about being in my truth and expressing my true voice, which I think comes from some past life wounds as well as issues in this lifetime. And it was such a strong difficulty that I would go to do any kind of public speaking or put myself out in a visible way, and I would just get caught in a total anxiety or a panic attack. While I was sitting with this flower, this plant, the red bee balm said to me, look at how I let my color shine and my energy express itself. Look at how it draws the butterflies and the hummingbirds. You too need to let your inner fire out and trust that it's safe to be visible in the world. And it was incredibly meaningful to me to have that message so clearly from this beautiful bee balm. And then I honored it and thanked it and made a flower essence from it. And from that point on, anytime I had to go teach or put myself out there in a visible way, I would take some of the flower essence of the bee balm and the anxiety would completely dissipate. So it was truly a life-changing experience for me. And then I know you're in Peru right now. I had some really powerful ayahuasca experiences in Cusco in Peru, and the incredible wisdom of ayahuasca and her capacity to heal us and transform us was profound for me. So I really believe we've got these allies all around us if we open ourselves to them.
Yeah, very beautiful and powerful stories that you have shared of all of these different allies. And I believe also it's important to be really conscious about what you're, experiencing in the moment. And it's also beautiful to hear from your experiences that when you needed something or some support, that an ally actually came to you and that you received this important message, right? Or teaching or something to carry forward and even use it still now today, you're alive. So thank you for sharing these beautiful stories. And I also know that you have done many different things in your life and you've become an expert in many areas as you have integrated all of these modalities in your work. As you mentioned, psychology, and you're also astrologist and you're a shamanic practitioner. You do energy healing and you also combine mythology in your practice as well, and ceremony and Asian wisdom tradition. So how are all of these areas actually sort of related to each other? Can you share something about that and how that sort of shaped your practice in order to share your knowledge and wisdom?
It's a good question. Well, I think part of it for me has been not only that deepening exploration of earth-based spirituality, but of ancient wisdom traditions. I mean, I really believe that we're in a critical time in our evolutionary journey on the planet, and that we have been through 5,000 years, which in the processional cycle is known from the Hindu version of the processional cycle as the Kali Yuga, the time of forgetting. And I believe part of what's been really destructive for us as humanity is our disconnection from the earth and sky, and the way in which we've gotten caught up in our own separate sense of self and into these hierarchical power over paradigms that have disconnected us from each other and from the wisdom of the earth. And I think we need to remember the ancient wisdom and the consciousness of the life all around us to come back into balance. So all these things that I've explored are about different paths of healing and of remembering that ancient wisdom, which is encoded in mythology. It's, the gift of astrology is it's this ancient wisdom about how everything is energy and everything is interconnected. And the planets and the stars have their own consciousness and are also trying to guide us. So it's, the wisdom of the cosmic consciousness is all around us and it's within us. But it's critical that we awaken to that so that we can heal and come back into balance and come back into right relationship with all of the life around us.
I can see or hear from you that everything is related to this Asian wisdom, right? And it's interesting to see that you sort of mastered all of these areas and how you bring this all together and translate this in a comprehensive way to your audience as well. For example, about your astrology viewpoints. Yeah, this really, really great that you're doing this. And as you're saying that it's now so critical at this time as we're in this age of forgetting and we're maybe slowly remembering ourselves again, and that we need to be in right relationship with all living beings, right? That we kind of lost ourselves here a little bit, and especially in our Western world, that we have lost our center and lost the connection with source and the consciousness that's really out there. Can you share something about your view on how people can find their center more again and, trust to stay true to their path?
So, my first book, Finding Our Center, is very much about the processional cycle and how each age has its own themes and its own wisdom and its own lessons, its own phase in our evolutionary journey of consciousness as humanity. And we're really in a critical time, a critical threshold time in terms of the processional cycle. And I can talk more about that in a minute. But I think in terms of finding our center, it is about the importance of coming back into that deep connection with the earth and sky to support us in coming back into alignment with our soul selves. And to me, one of the most powerful shamanic practices that I've learned from the Mohawk medicine woman, from the Peruvian shamans, from some druids I worked with in the UK, is the medicine wheel. And the medicine wheel is such a powerful archetypal template that is at the root of every spiritual tradition. And we don't have to appropriate another cultural context way of experiencing that. It is at the root of every culture and every spiritual tradition. And for me, that knowing that practice and how it is guiding us back into our connection with the directions, with the land where we live, with the earth, with the sky. When you come to the center of the medicine wheel and practice that walking meditation, you're honoring coming back into the center in yourself, your heart chakra, that connection between our heart and the unified field of all of consciousness. And we're connecting with the center of our galaxy, the center that is the source of all that is. It's such a powerful practice to remember that we're just part of this web of life. And we're connected to all the directions, all of the elements. And the medicine wheel is also such a powerful template for honoring all the aspects of ourselves, but coming to center, coming into that way we step out of our story, out of our ego, out of our identification with our personality, back into our soul self and our connection with cosmic consciousness and the consciousness in all of the life around us.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And I think it's also perhaps good to share your wisdom and knowledge about this cycle that we are in right now, because many of our audience may not know that we are in this sort of Kali Yuga, or the procession cycle, as you were mentioning just now. Would you like to share something about that?
So one of the things that I think has been critical for me in exploring ancient wisdom is the way in which we've been given wisdom encoded in stone in sites like the ancient sites in Peru, in Egypt, in different places all around the globe, in our ancient mythology, all reminding us of the ancient wisdom and understanding that we go through this 24,000 year processional cycle, which I believe is very connected to our being part of a binary star system with the star Sirius. And we go through this cycle of ascending consciousness and descending consciousness. And at every midpoint of that cycle, as well as the beginning and the end of one and beginning of a new one, it's a very powerful time of change on the planet. And it's a critical time in terms of our consciousness, and it's a critical time in terms of earth changes, and often it's a period of cataclysmic change on the planet. And that happens at different points in the precessional cycle, but is most intense every 12,000 years, the midpoint and the end of one, beginning of another one. That's where we are now. It's why we're seeing all the earth changes that we're seeing, why we're seeing the turbulence in our cultural context. We're really being called to step out of these old paradigms and step out of the forgetfulness we've been in to come into more consciousness, to heal, to awaken, to really be in an evolutionary leap as humans on the planet. So I think it's a critical threshold point and a critical choice point. And it's vital that we understand this time that we're in. Then it helps us understand the turbulence, but to understand the promise and the hope and the possibility of this time if we awaken. And I truly believe we have the chance to awaken and be in this ascension process with the earth to move into higher consciousness and come back into balance, come back into right relationship with all that is. We also can choose not to. We can choose to resist it and stay on a path of disconnection and destruction. And then the earth will go through a cataclysmic reset, and we will start again. So I think it's very important to understand the wisdom and meaning of the precessional cycle so that we can work with this time consciously and open to the evolutionary leap that we're capable of, to remember who we truly are, why we're here, to remember that ancient wisdom, not to go back into the past, but to move forward to co-create a new world and be back into this alignment with the earth in her ascension process.
Beautiful how you explain this all, and it's so important. I think that we all know this and really, do everything that we can to, awaken more from within and make better choices for ourselves. And as you're describing this, I want to go a little bit more into your work as well and how you look at the stars and the planets, how they navigate us through these times of change. Would you like to share something about it? Because you're quite dedicated by, always updating and informing and sharing your views and your knowledge about what's all happening in these times as well. So I would love for you to share something about that.
I would love to. And one of the things in terms of other allies and guides, one of the things when I was doing my intensive shamanic training is, and before I was more deeply immersed in astrology, I was always drawn to the star Sirius and the constellation Orion and the Pleiades. And I've come now through not only understanding the precessional cycle, but my astrological explorations, that part of the sky is so powerful and is so symbolic of our journey through the precessional cycle. But I think that astrology is such a powerful guide in helping us understand this larger cycle and where we are historically, where we are as humanity in this critical time. But it's also an incredible guide to help us remember who we each are. One of the things that I love about astrology that's different from psychology, from a psychological perspective, there's this normative way of being a healthy person. From an astrological perspective, to be healthy and whole is to be who you uniquely are. We each have this unique birth chart that is an expression of the energies that we were born into. And I also believe the birth chart is an expression of our contract between lives, of what our soul's intentions were in this lifetime. And the chart then becomes a guide, a blueprint to remember that and to honor our uniqueness, to know why we're here and what our soul's journey is in this lifetime. But then the energies of the planets continue to guide us in our lifetime with the transits, with how they come into play in our lives and in our charts to support us in our awakening process, to support us in healing and transforming and becoming more conscious. So, one of the classes that I teach is called the Aquarian Shamanic Astrology class, where we learn about the energies of the planets and our charts and these transits, but also we remember that the planets are conscious and we can do shamanic journeys to them. We can connect with them, commune with them, be guided by them. They're allies to us in this time, and they're not just outside of us. These energies, these archetypal energies of the planets, are in us. So it again helps us come back into that interconnectedness with all that is, and to know we are held, we are supported, we're being guided, and it really can help us awaken as we're on this path into the age of Aquarius and into this time of ascension.
Beautiful. That's really great how you share this about all of these planets that is also within us and how they can navigate us in our own process of awakening and find our own blueprint and make, of course, the most out of it in the most beautiful way as we can to express ourselves as well. So thank you for sharing that. And you may already have talked about this already, but why has it been so important for you to dedicate yourself to share this knowledge on a continuous base, to really share all of these ancient wisdom traditions structurally? Like, what drives you to continue to do this?
That's a great question. I truly believe that that's part of my soul's purpose in this lifetime. And I've led a number of trips to Egypt to see the ancient sacred sites there. And I strongly believe that I've had a past life in ancient Egypt 11 or 12,000 years ago. I believe that I was here in that time of the last major cataclysmic time of change on the planet. And that part of my commitment was to come back in this time to help support us in remembering what this time is about, in awakening. I think there are many of us who have consciously chosen to incarnate in this time, to be supporting us in this shift, to be creating this kind of soul tribe around the globe to support the shift and help us remember that ancient wisdom so that we can awaken in this time. So that's a powerful part of what really drives me and the work that I do.
Beautiful. Thank you. I can share this also a little bit with what you said. That drives me also to, do the work that we do. So thank you for sharing this and these personal experiences as well of your past life in Egypt. Thank you. And I also want to ask you, is there perhaps like a story or a teaching or a practice that is precious to you that you would like to share? Something that can help people to individually awaken more in this world?
Again, I would really encourage people to explore the medicine wheel. I think it is such a powerful practice and such a powerful template for healing, coming into wholeness, coming back to center. Part of what's beautiful about the medicine wheel is it can take many different forms. And the one that I work with is really integrating the energies of the earth and sky. I align the directions with also with the four royal stars. And part of what's helpful about the medicine wheel is that it does remind us that we're connected to everything around us as well as beyond us. I think one of the really important things about earth-based spirituality is that it is the reminder that everything is sacred, everything is conscious. Part of what's been destructive on the planet is to the way in which many have gotten caught in the sense that spirituality is what's transcendent and it's not imminent. It's not in the life around us. It's beyond us. And it's really important to come back into that awareness that everything is sacred. Everything is conscious. And I think the medicine wheel is such a good reminder of that. And part of what I think is powerful about the medicine wheel is that it's also a ceremonial practice that you can do. And I believe ceremony can change us beneath our level of consciousness. We so focus in modern Western cultures on the mind and our what we're consciously aware of. And I think the ancient traditions and indigenous cultures understand the importance of ceremony that is engaging us on all levels and changing us spiritually and energetically, even if we don't understand all of what it means or all the aspects of the ceremony. And I think the medicine wheel is very powerful that way in helping us come back to center, come back to alignment with our true selves, with our soul selves. And the other practice that I find really valuable is a fire ceremony, where we can honor the fire and the energy of fire and then release what we need to be releasing to the fire, and then take in that light and heat to support us in energizing what we're trying to give birth to in our lives. For a long time, I would do a fire ceremony at the time of the new moon or the full moon. I continue to honor those energies of the lunar cycle, and don't always coordinate it with when I do my fire ceremonies, but I think those practices, I think working with the lunar cycle and that reminder of that cycle of life, death, rebirth that we go through every month and we go through in the cycle of our lives helps us come back into connection with the earth and sky and come back into balance.
Thank you for sharing this teaching and your practices that help people also to perhaps integrate them in their own lives and consider these powerful practices. So thank you, Heather, for sharing that. And before we close, is there perhaps anything else that you would like to share that you think is important for our audience to know?
I just think it's an important time for each of us to step out of the cacophony and the overstimulation of modern life around us, to take time in nature, to take time to be in stillness, because I do believe these allies and guides are all around us to support us, but we won't connect with them if we don't listen and if we don't take enough time to be quiet. And I think time in nature in particular can support us in opening and listening and coming back into connection.
Thank you, Heather, for sharing all of this beautiful wisdom with every one of us who's listening. And we, of course, want also our summit audience to know what might be coming from you in your next offerings. And if there's anything that you would like to share, I also know that you're working on a new book. So perhaps you want to share anything about that, which is super exciting as well. So
I'm working on a revision of the book Finding Our Center to update it, to bring in more current information about the processional cycle and this shift that we're in. I'm also working on a book to talk more about the Aquarian shamanic astrology path and how we can work with astrology and the planets in that shamanic way. And I'm this year teaching two programs, one on sacred feminine wisdom, remembering and reintegrating that ancient wisdom of the sacred feminine, and also a life coach training program that is about how we can heal and come back into wholeness with the medicine wheel.
Beautiful. It's all really aligned with what I've shared, and yeah, that people can learn more from you as well. That's a wonderful opportunities that you have given to us here. Thank you so much. And I also know that you have offered a gift, a generous gift to our audience, which is a link to your YouTube channel. Would you like to say something about what's all on your channel?
So yes, I invite people to come to the YouTube channel. I really try to share about the astrological energies, how we can work with them. Part of what's important to me about my approach in astrology is these energies aren't acting on us. They aren't controlling us. They are reflections of these larger shifts and messengers of cosmic consciousness. And they are in us and all around us. And we co-create with them if we're coming from a place of consciousness. So I try to give updates on what those energies are, how we can work with them. And I also try to do interviews with different healers, different energy practitioners, people who are understanding shamanism, earth-based spirituality, sound healing, the new paradigms, the new old paradigms that we're moving into as we're moving into the Aquarian age, to guide us in some of these new ways of understanding ourselves, new ways of healing, new ways of being.
I want to thank you, Heather, for joining us. It's been such a delight and honor to have you here and to share your wisdom and your experiences with the audience. So thank you so much for everything and all the beauty that you are bringing into the world.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me be a part of this. And I'm very grateful for Shaman's Directory and for the way in which that's providing a platform for people to make connections with people who can be teachers of shamanism and earth-based spirituality, healers. I think that's so important in this time. So I'm grateful to be a part of this and to support what Shaman's Directory is doing.
Thank you so much, Heather. It's been amazing to have you here. Thank you. And to everybody who's viewing and participating, thank you for joining us and to really receive all this beauty and wisdom and generosity from Heather today.